pod, we're going to be recapping Week 17 of the NFL season, as well as doing a Week 18 preview for gambling and predictions and whatnot. Let me go ahead and get right into this. We're going to start with the first thing that we need to start with. This is the Tuesday following the Monday night suspended game for the Bills and the Bengals. Very unfortunate situation with the Bills safety, Damar Hamlin. It's been reported now that he went into cardiac arrest. People have probably seen the video by now, but a very scary situation there. We just thoughts and prayers out to him and his family and everybody involved there, of course. We just want to see him be okay. None of this other stuff really matters at this point as long as he is, okay and good to go. Just wanted to start the pod out on that. Just moving forward, because the rest of this stuff is basically irrelevant when it comes to life or death. So, just wanted to start out with that there, and let's go ahead and just move into the Week 17 recap of the NFL season here. We're going to start with that Thursday night football game. Cowboys versus Titans. Titans essentially were resting a bunch of their starters because they know that their season rest on Week 18 matchup with the Jaguars. So they basically just wanted to stay healthy going into that game, and that's exactly what they did. And they were fighting hard in that game against the Cowboys. Cowboys just at the end of the day were just too much for them with all their starters and whatnot. It's not like the Cowboys are resting or anything. They need to continue to win games just to have the potential of somehow snagging that one seed from the Eagles, which is becoming more and more available to them. We'll get to that later. But yeah, Cowboys get another win. They take care of business against the Titans on Thursday Night Football, and it is what it is. They didn't impress by any stretch, but they got the job done. That's all they needed to do there. Next game, Lions versus Bears. Lions smoke the Bears. Lions keep winning, so they can look forward to a potential NFC playoff spot. I'm going to get to some seeding stuff after I get done with the recaps and everything. They obviously still have a chance to win, and get in essentially. So we'll get to that later. But Lions get another big W moving forward. That's really good for them. Next game, Jaguars-Titans. Jaguars, just like the Lions, took care of business against a team that basically has nothing to play for at this point, and the Jaguars win against a division rival as well, against the Texans. So that's huge for their chances. Obviously, like I said, they still have to beat the Titans in Week 18 to go ahead and clinch that division, the AFC South. I'm really looking forward to that. Like I said last week, I really want to see Trevor Lawrence in a playoff atmosphere, see how he responds to something like that. See Doug Peterson back in the playoffs as well, because I'm a huge fan of Doug Peterson. How can I not be? He led the Eagles to their one and only Super Bowl. So, just moving forward, let's go with the next game. Chiefs versus Broncos. Chiefs slip out another close one against the Broncos. I did not see this one coming. The Broncos played them close last game. Probably Russell Wilson's best game as, a Bronco so far was the past game that they played together, and they played them close again. The Chiefs have not been covering as of late, and, that's just – it doesn't, give a ton of confidence moving forward about, what their chances are, going super, super deep in the playoff. I mean, obviously they're the one seed and everything like that, and, they're going to have home game, 2 home games until the Super Bowl, so their chances are high. But when it comes to Bengals, who have already beat them in the season, the Bills maybe coming to their house, anything can happen with those teams. So just the AFC playoff picture is wild. The teams are all playing at a decently high level right now. Chiefs maybe are a little bit more stagnant in their instead of being kind of on the rise right now as the other teams are right now. So let's go on to the next game. We got Patriots versus Dolphins. The Patriots got this one done. The Dolphins are, unfortunately without Tua because of that concussion. So they're floundering a bit here. They still have a chance to get in the playoffs, but they're going to need some help. So the Patriots get a big W. They're now the 7th seed. So if the playoffs were to start today, the Patriots would be the 7th seed and make the AFC playoffs. They're going to need some help as well as trying to win against the Bills in Week 18. So we'll get to some of that stuff later with the Week 18 preview and whatnot. Next game, Giants versus Colts. Giants get a big W. This essentially locks them into the 6th seed in the NFC playoff picture, which is huge for them. They have not made the playoffs in years now. So this is going to be their first trip back. First year head coach Brian Daboll gets them into the playoffs, his first year coaching, which is a great accomplishment. Looks like, so apparently after the post-game press conference, there was maybe some thought that there's a chance that Brian said something along the lines of they weren't going to plan to, rest their starters against the Eagles in Week 18, even though they can't move up and down from the 6th seed. They're essentially just locked in that spot no matter what. But since then, looks like he's kind of walked that back, and he said that they're going to do what's going to be best for their franchise, their players, and the health of them. So it looks like, and Vegas has already came out with a line, which obviously I'm going to get to later, and it looks like it's a line where everybody expects the Giants to go ahead and rest their starters, which gives the Eagles a way better chance, of course, of going ahead and locking up that 1 seed. But you never know, man. It's a division rival. Crazy stuff has happened. Crazier things have happened. All right, so next game, Saints-Eagles. This is kind of alluding to the same thing here. The Saints beat the Eagles here. This was a huge deal for the Saints because obviously at that point in time, they were fighting for their playoff chances. Unfortunately for them, the Buccaneers ended up beating the Panthers, and it didn't matter after all, and they were eliminated from the playoffs because of that. But the Eagles let them, hang around for a little bit more time because they just crapped the bed, really. Gardner Minshew could not get anything going on offense. He cannot, operate in a pocket to save his life. He has happy feet. He looked pretty decent in that Dallas game. He looked a little frenetic in that game, and I think it just carried right over into the Saints game. The first play of the game was a play-action pass, and then he gets sacked, and from there you could tell that he was just scared in that pocket, and so it did not bode well for them. They had three and outs to start the game. They didn't have, a first down, I don't think, until super, super late in the second quarter, which is never a good thing. The Eagles' defense stepped up in the second half and did not let them score really a whole lot. And then eventually, to cap off the game, Gardner Minshew threw a pick 6 to Marshawn Lattimore. So unfortunate loss for the Eagles. Obviously, they're now 0 for 2 in their 3-game pursuit. You just got to win one of these to lock up the 1 seed. So they're making it dramatic. They're taking it to the last game of the year. Like I said, the Giants are probably going to end up resting their starters. So the Eagles will probably end up winning this game, but we're backing, into the playoffs rather than going in hot, which, it doesn't always matter, but you would rather be kind of peaking right now rather than, kind of going in just lazy. I don't know if that's the word for it, but I'm for the lack of terms right here. But yeah, Saints get the win, make the Eagles draft pick that they own worse. I think it's sitting at 11 right now. So, it is what it is. We'll take it. We're not going to complain about it, but we would have liked to had it a little bit higher on, the poll there, but it is what it is. Next game, Buccaneers versus Panthers, kind of like what I alluded to there. Buccaneers finally put together a nice little game. Tom Brady throws 3 touchdowns to Mike Evans. He has 200 yards in the game. For anybody that was starting him in a fantasy championship game, congratulations, you probably won because he had 50 points in one of my leagues I was looking at. Incredible outing by him, of course. But yeah, so Buccaneers go ahead and take care of business when they had to. It was still a very close game. Panthers fought very hard, and I think they're still a pretty good team right now. It's unfortunate, they get eliminated from the playoffs just like the Saints did, but you know what? They have some positive notes to go off of for next offseason, or for the next season. So it's looking up right now. Steve Wilkes did a pretty good job in relief of Matt Rule, who was terrible. So you might have to look towards him being the head coach in the future. They are probably going to do their due diligence around the league and see if they can hire somebody else potentially. But at the end of the day, Steve Wilkes did a decent job. Next game, Browns versus Commanders. Wow, what a disaster for the Commanders here. They had a chance. They were in the playoff picture coming into this game. Ron Rivera in the post-game press conference didn't even realize that he could be essentially eliminated in the 4 o'clock window on Sunday, which is an embarrassing establishment for that franchise, but that is something that we've come to expect at this point with the Commanders because their franchise is as dysfunctional as any. So it is what it is there. Commanders started Carson Wentz. He threw 2 picks in the first half. Completely ugly. See, I was a Wentz guy when he was with the Eagles, and I went to bat for him for so long, and it's over. It just is, man. He's a broken quarterback mentally, maybe a little bit even physically right now. He just can't get it done. And I think if I'm a Commanders fan, I want Taylor Heinicke in the. I know there's a ceiling, a crazy, like almost low ceiling with Taylor Heinicke, but at the very least, he gives me a decently high floor. I mean, he's gonna take what the defense gives him. He may make some really dumb throws and mistakes because he thinks he's Patrick Mahomes sometimes. But man, at the least he can fire up and be the leader of that team whenever he's in the huddle. And Carson Wentz just inspires no confidence in anything when he's out there. He's out there just taking sacks, throwing dumb picks. I mean, that Commanders team now knocked out of the playoffs, and that's essentially on the back of Carson Wentz and that dumb decision that Ron Rivera made to put him in there at the last second for whatever reason, even when Taylor Heinicke was playing okay. I mean, it wasn't great to end the season here, but weird situation there. They really, really need a quarterback going into next season, and we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, it's a wild season from the Commanders. Thought they were going to make the playoffs, and I was kind of hoping they would because that's just another team that I think the Eagles can beat if it comes down to it, in the playoffs. So, but somebody else is going to get in, and it's probably going to be a hot Aaron Rodgers Packers team, which is unfortunate for everybody in the playoffs in the NFC. Next game, we are going to the 49ers versus the Raiders. This game was surprisingly close. It was a barn burner. It was Brock Purdy versus Jarrett Stidham. Obviously, we had the Derek Carr situation where they sent him home for the last 2 games of the season. He is probably going to end up getting traded in the offseason. In my opinion, I think the Jets should get in on that sweepstakes and potentially trade for him because I think if they had a competent quarterback like Derek Carr with all the weapons they have, the defense they have, they could be an absolute juggernaut in the AFC. So I really want to see something like that happen. I want to see the Jets be good at some point in my lifetime. It's just kind of a weird thing, but I think the Jets are one of the more fun teams. It's fun to root for a team that's just been terrible forever. So, but yeah, so 49ers beat the Raiders. I mean, they're, nipping on the Eagles' heels. Obviously, if the Eagles falter, they can take the 1 seed from them now because the Vikings dropped the game against the Packers this past week. So, 49ers are just getting the job done right now. Hard-fought game against the Raiders. Did not see that coming. Thought the Raiders were just going to fold right now with, all the drama surrounding them. It's almost like they thrive in the ultimate drama when it comes to the Raiders. I mean, last year, all the stuff that was happening with, John Gruden and then Henry Ruggs and all those situations, they just thrive under this weird dramatic type of style of play, and they almost pull one off here against the 49ers, who are probably playing the best football in the NFC currently, as the Eagles drop 2 now against the Dallas and the Saints there. Basically on the back of the fact that Jalen Hurts is just out right now. 49ers get the win, so they get the job done, but it was close, and it was kind of scary for the 49ers fans. Next game, Packers versus the Vikings, just kind of talking about this one here. Packers come out and smoke the Vikings. The Vikings, man, they are not looking so hot going into the NFC playoffs here. They are a team that is going to be, people are going to want to play them in the playoffs in the first round, and that's unfortunate for them. But I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I always have been, so I kind of like the fact that he's kind of getting this team back together. Everybody was down on Aaron Rodgers and that whole team this entire season, and now he's got them back in the playoff picture, and he's just got a win to get in against the Lions. So that's going to be an incredible game. Just going to be sweet. We'll get to that in the gambling, preview and whatnot as well. Next game, Chargers versus Rams. Chargers right now are taking care of business, man. It's weird that all of a sudden the Chargers and Justin Herbert are putting together very good games when all of his weapons are back. When his team is officially healthy, that Chargers offense is operating at a high level. And even with Joe Lombardi being a terrible offensive coordinator, they're still getting the job done. The defense has stepped up, I believe. They're playing better than they have all season. So the Chargers are peaking at the right time going into the playoffs. They've clinched already, so they're good to go. So I'm looking forward to watching Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense and that defense in the playoffs. Next game, we have the Steelers versus the Ravens. Steelers get the job done here, which keeps them in the playoff picture in the AFC. They're going to need some help. They're going to need a win in Week 18, but they have a chance to win and get in, and that is an incredible accomplishment for Mike Tomlin, considering the way this whole season started. the Mitchell Trubisky of it all, then the Kenny Pickett, and then the injuries and quarterbacks in and out of the lineup, unfortunately, injuries to all kinds of different spots. Mike Tomlin is just an incredible head coach, and he deserves a lot of credit for riding the ship every single season. I mean, if he ends up being over 500 or, whatever it may be in this season, and he keeps that streak alive, I mean, he's one of the best head coaches probably ever. I mean, I don't even care at this point. I know he hasn't won anything in a little while, but he does have a Super Bowl under his belt. So he's just an impressive guy, man. So shout out to him. All right, before we get into the Week 18 preview, gambling preview and predictions and whatnot, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a, playoff picture seeding situation with the NFC. So it looks like the Seahawks right now are the 7 seed. Lions are the 8, and the Packers are the 9. So the Packers and Lions play each other. And essentially, if the Packers win that game, no matter what happens with the Seahawks, the Packers get in. So the Seahawks really need the Lions to lose. The Lions to win, Packers to lose, and then the Seahawks will get in, especially if they win. So it's an interesting NFC playoff picture there. I'm not as privy on the AFC playoff picture. There's a lot more ins and outs of it. Trying to basically read off what that would be, very strenuous. So I'm not even going to, you can do your own research on that one if you want to look at the playoff, seeding picture there. But I will give you at least the Patriots are the 7 seed right now. So if the playoffs would stop today, or if they would start today, I should say, the Patriots would be in. 8 seed is the Dolphins, and the 9 seed is the Steelers. So obviously, all 3 of them need to win the game to compete. Really, I think the Patriots, they don't need to win. Depends on what the Dolphins do and maybe the Steelers do. But obviously, it would help if all 3 were to win their ball games. But because then they would need help from all of their places. But yeah, so it's an interesting last Week 18 right now. You have some teams resting some players because of, they're locked into their playoff seeding. You have some teams on the verge of potentially making it in the playoffs. You have teams fighting for divisions still. So it's going to be an interesting Week 18. So we'll get right into this preview. Let's go with Chiefs minus 8.5 versus the Raiders. I know the Raiders, they fought tough against the 49ers with Jarrett Stidham. The Chiefs have not been covering as of late. They just have not been as hot on offense as I would expect them to be going into the playoffs. So I will go with the Raiders to go ahead and cover this. 8.5 is a little bit much for me, especially with a squad that has a little bit of pride left in them with Jarrett Stidham in at QB. So we'll see if he can replicate some of that magic he did against the 49ers. That's probably a bad idea on my side to bet on that, but it is what it is. It's 8.5 points. I don't like it. Jaguars minus 6.5 versus the Titans. I'll take the Titans here in the points. I think the Jaguars win the game. The only reason I take the Titans in the points here is because I know for a fact that Mike Vrabel, trying to get into the playoffs here, is going to throw everything. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at the Jaguars and Doug Peterson, and they're going to try to get into this playoff picture. I just think the Jaguars are the better team at this point. It doesn't matter who starts at quarterback. Malik Willis, Josh Dobbs, doesn't matter. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is going to be back for this one. So, I'm going to go with the Titans to cover, but they will probably end up losing this game. Vikings minus 4 versus the Bears. Vikings are down on their luck right now. They are just kind of backing into the playoffs, kind of like the Eagles are, unfortunately, right now. But it's not due to injury. It's just due to because they're just kind of a fraudulent team at this point. They're an absolute enigma at this point. I don't even know how to describe them. But the Bears, I think, are going to compete. I think they're going to want to screw up the playoffs for the Vikings. So I think the Bears will, at the very least, cover. I will take them in the points at 4. Steelers minus 2.5 versus the Browns. Browns, I know they just beat the Commanders, but anybody would have beat the Commanders with Carson Wentz starting at quarterback. I don't think the Browns are any better than they were before. I will take the Steelers to win this game and, kind of control their destiny to try to get in the playoffs. That would be really incredible. I'm rooting for that, honestly. I do kind of like Kenny Pickett. I thought I wouldn't like him when he was drafted by the Steelers and all that stuff, and he has grown on me. I think he's going to be a very competitive QB going forward. Let's go. Next game, we have Falcons minus 3 versus the Buccaneers. I'll go with the Falcons. Buccaneers are going to be resting all their starters. They've clinched the division. They don't need to play any starters in this game, so I doubt they will. Falcons will probably end up winning this game, probably covering as well. Dolphins -1 versus the Jets. I'm gonna go with the Jets. I know the Jets are essentially, I think they're eliminated. The Seahawks eliminated them this past week, but I think the Jets have enough pride to try to screw it up for the Dolphins. So I think the Jets will win this game. It's a pick 'em. I think they're gonna want to destroy the Dolphins' dreams. Saints -4 versus the Panthers. I got the Panthers in this one. I know the Saints just beat the Eagles, but that's not that impressive in my mind because Gardner Minshew just kind of stinks. I think the Panthers are a better team than the Saints right this second. The Panthers took the Bucs all the way to the brink, and I just think they're going to be motivated to keep this high note going into the offseason. So I'm gonna go Panthers and the points there. Colts -3 versus the Texans. I'm going Texans. Texans have been super competitive. I think they would probably rather lose this game, so I don't think they probably win it, but I think they will probably end up covering, which is probably bad logic on my part. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes when it comes to end of the week. I'm probably not going to make it one of my best bets anyways, but because it's just one of those games where nobody matters in this game. Next game, Eagles -14 versus the Giants. Kind of was talking about this earlier where Vegas is assuming that Brian Daboll will rest his starters against the Eagles in Week 18 because they know they can't move up or down in that 6th seed in the NFC playoff picture. The Eagles can lock up the 1 seed with a win here, so I think they will get that done. Jalen Hurts is probably going to end up playing at least for the half as long as they can get up and have a significant lead. Maybe Gardner Minshew goes back in there in the second half. But yeah, I think the Eagles get the win here. They'll lock up the 1 seed in the NFC East in the same day. And we will get that first round bye, and we'll have 2 home games to go towards the Super Bowl, and hopefully we will get there. Cowboys -3.5 versus the Commanders. Cowboys. I'm picking the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going to want to win this game because their chance, obviously the Eagles can potentially lose this game. So they're going to be looking towards potentially taking that away from the Eagles. So they will play this game. They will smoke the Commanders, especially if Carson Wentz is starting in this one. The pass rush will sack Carson Wentz at least 5 times in this game. You can write that down. 49ers -14 against the Cardinals. I'm going to go Cardinals. I know the Cardinals aren't fighting for anything. The 49ers are obviously fighting. And they're going to want to win this game. I can just see them getting up early, and then there's like garbage time touchdowns and whatnot, and they will cover that. It's just a little backdoor cover. And I got the Cardinals and the points at 14 there. Seahawks -6.5 against the Rams. I think the Seahawks win this game. I really do. But I think the Rams do cover. So the Seahawks, once again, they're also fighting for their playoff life here. They are now the 7 seed, and they want to keep it, obviously, so they will be fighting hard to keep that. So I do think the Rams do cover, though, at 6.5. Chargers -3.5 versus the Broncos. I think the Chargers have clinched. I don't think they can move out of their seeding. There's a chance, I guess, but I probably need to do more research on that one to see if they can move up or down, but I don't think it really matters that much. I think the Chargers will end up winning this game, but I'm taking the Broncos to cover there. It's a division rival. Those are always close no matter what. The Broncos, are going to want to end on a high note and potentially get a win here, so it's going to be competitive, but I think the Chargers are going to be too much for them, so I'll take the Broncos and 3.5 points there. Packers -4.5 versus the Lions. I don't know. I have a gut feeling the Packers are going to come out and smoke the Lions. I don't know what it is. I think the Packers are just super, super hot right now. They have a lot of confidence. Aaron Rodgers is playing out of his mind. He finally has weapons on his offense, at least all of them to his disposal, and he's using them well. The run game is rocking right now for the Packers, and the defense is playing pretty well. So they got, even on their third phase, the special teams, Keyshawn Nixon is a stud, dude. So he is looking awesome. And so all 3 phases right now are looking on the up and up. They're all rising. They're peaking at the right time going into the playoffs. And that's going to be a disaster for somebody in the NFC playoffs. So they're, I'm looking forward to a potential Green Bay going into, Dallas type of a situation. That would be incredible. Because Aaron Rodgers is essentially Dallas's kryptonite. So is Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So anybody plays the Cowboys and can beat them, that would be incredible. Just so the Eagles don't have to worry about doing it. Not like I'm scared of them with Jalen Hurts, but if they're out before, that's just more jokes I can make about how bad the Cowboys are and how long they have been in an NFC Championship drought / Super Bowl drought. So that's pretty much it for the podcast. That's all I got for this week. Once again, I just want to say thoughts and prayers to Damar Hamlin. Hopefully he's going to pull through and be fine. That's all we care about right this second. But yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in and listening. Once again, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. We really appreciate it. Once again, I appreciate my guy Weston for editing this bad boy. And we will catch you guys next week. See ya.